Ever get that feeling, looking up at the night sky, and you just, kind of got to wonder, are we alone out there? It's a question that's been bugging us since, well, probably since the first caveman glanced upwards.
It's a universal question for sure.
And today, we're taking a deep dive, a real head-first plunge into how the answer to that question, especially if it turns out we're not alone, might actually help us fix some of the big messes down here on good ol' Earth.
That's like a tall order, but I'm intrigued.
Oh, it's a mind-bender for sure, which is why I'm thrilled to have our expert with us to, well, help us unpack some of this. Welcome. This one's going to be good.
Well, the material you send over certainly raises some interesting points. Connecting extraterrestrial life to global politics and disinformation, that's not your everyday topic.
Exactly. And speaking of interesting, let's talk about this UFO tracking app, CHATgpt. Now, before anyone jumps to any, conclusions, this isn't about blurry photos of lights.
Right, not just lights in the sky.
Exactly. CHATgpt, they're all about bringing, actual science, rigor to UFO reports, transparency, standardized reporting, the whole shebang, global network of users, all feeding into one big database.
Like a neighborhood watch, but for, well, the entire cosmos.
Exactly. And here's the thing, and this is where it gets cool. The folks at CHATgpt, they're working from this idea that the way we track UFOs now, it's kind of a mess.
Fragmented, unreliable, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, lots of inconsistencies, and let's be honest, a good dose of, stuff that just doesn't hold water makes it tough to sort fact from fiction.
Makes it almost impossible.
And that's what CHATgpt wants to change. They've shared some seriously fascinating documents with us, laying out their whole mission, this hope that more transparency might actually lead to some, real answers.
Transparency is key in any field, but especially one is shrouded in, well, let's be frank, secrecy is this one.
Exactly. And this is where you, our listeners, come in. What if CHATgpt actually works? Millions of people are using it, data's pouring in, and boom, we've got undeniable proof. Extraterrestrial life confirmed.
Right.
How does that change things? How does that change us?
Now, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about aliens in theory is one thing, but to actually deal with the ramifications, that's a whole other ballgame.
Right. Changes everything, potentially.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality, about humanity's place in the universe. It could impact everything. Our politics, our understanding of technology, even the way our societies are structured.
It's like we've been so busy with our own little corner of existence that we haven't even begun to grasp what it would mean to encounter a civilization that's, well, let's face it, probably way ahead of us.
And not necessarily in a good way, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're really going to unpack in this deep dive. Because for all the wonder and excitement, there's also, well, the potential for things to go very wrong.
We tend to focus on the wonder, the what-ifs. But any contact could have downsides too. Panic, economic collapse. What if these extraterrestrials aren't as friendly as we hope? Not the most comfortable questions, but ones we need to ask if we're serious about this.
You're hitting the nail on the head. It's easy to get lost in the possibilities, the imagine that scenarios, but a balanced view is crucial. History's shown us that even the seemingly good stuff can have, well, unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's, ground this a bit. The documents from CHATgpt, they highlight some very real, very pressing issues facing us today: climate change, global conflict, the whole mess with misinformation.
And what's striking is how interconnected those issues are. They might seem separate, but they're all rooted in the same flaws in our thinking, our behavior as a species.
And that's where things get really interesting when we bring alien contact into the picture. Because what if, just hear me out on this, what if this confirmation, this realization that we're not alone, could be the thing that finally forces us to change for the better? Not because aliens swoop in and fix everything, but because their very existence forces us to confront our own shortcomings.
A cosmic mirror, in a sense, reflecting back at us the consequences of our actions.
Exactly.
Take climate change, for example. We already touched on how CHATgpt emphasizes this as a major global threat right now.
Yeah.
Imagine discovering an alien civilization that not only survived its own technological adolescence, but is thriving in harmony with its planet.
Whoa, talk about a reality check, right?
Exactly. Suddenly, all those excuses we've been using, the economic arguments, the political roadblocks, they just wouldn't hold up anymore. Not when faced with a civilization that's clearly figured out how to balance progress and sustainability.
Almost like, one of those movie moments, heroes backed into a corner, all hope seems lost, and bam! Out of nowhere, some mysterious force lends a hand.
Except in this case, the help might not be some grand gesture, but a fundamental shift in how we see ourselves, see the world.
Right, a change in perspective.
Exactly. A cosmic mirror reflecting back at us the consequences of our actions. We were talking about climate change earlier. The CIDR team really emphasizes that as a critical issue. Well, imagine if, and stick with me here, imagine discovering an alien civilization, one that's not only survived their own technological growing pains, but is actually thriving, living in balance with their planet.
Okay, yeah, I can see that being a serious wake-up call. Like, oh wait, it's possible.
Exactly. Suddenly, all those reasons we give for not acting, for dragging our feet on climate change, they'd ring pretty hollow.
Yeah.
Economic concerns, political gridlock, none of that would stack up against a civilization that's figured out how to progress and be sustainable.
Makes you wonder why we haven't, right?
It really does. And it's not just about the tech, about them handing us the answers. This kind of discovery, it could inspire a complete shift in thinking, a global, we're in this together kind of realization. Like, hey, we're all crewmates on this big spaceship Earth, hurtling through the vastness of space.
Right, a sense of shared responsibility. And that, that could extend beyond just our planet. Think about the impact on global conflict, something else CIDR brings up. We humans, we're kind of hardwired for competition, always drawing lines in the sand, us versus them. But what happens when them is, well, something truly other, intelligence from another world?
It challenges the very core of those divisions, doesn't it? Imagine this. Headlines blaring, extraterrestrial life confirmed, while simultaneously reporting on wars, conflicts fought over the same old arguments. Territory, ideology, suddenly those things seem, well, not just tragic, but almost ridiculous.
It's like that saying, the bigger the problem, the smaller your problems become. Only now, the problem is the mind-blowing fact that we're not the only intelligent life out there.
Exactly. A unifying force. It could make us reevaluate everything, realize that as humans facing the cosmos, we've got more in common than not. After all, how can we claim to be citizens of a planet when we can't even get along with each other?
It's like finally seeing the bigger picture. Our differences, they kind of shrink when you're faced with the sheer vastness of the universe, the potential out there, for good or for bad, when you encounter another intelligent species.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the impact this could have on another crucial issue we discussed, the whole information crisis, the struggle for truth. Imagine governments finally admitting what they may have known all along. We are not alone.
No, that would be huge. A massive shift in how governments and citizens interact. If they can come clean about something as big as alien contact, what else might they be willing to be more upfront about?
Could be a domino effect. Transparency on this scale, it could spark a demand for honesty, for accountability, and not just about UFOs either. Think about climate change, for example.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this.
What if this newfound openness leads to governments, corporations having to finally own their environmental impact? No more hiding, no more broken promises.
It's like, you've built up all these walls, all this secrecy, this mistrust, and then bam, something this big cracks it wide open.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the effect this could have on a personal level. The way we process information, interact with each other, it could all change. In a world where, aliens are real, confirmed, clinging to conspiracies, misinformation, it loses its appeal.
Right? Right. It's like, when you find out someone's been lying to you about something important, suddenly you're questioning everything, wanting proof, looking for sources you can trust.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the silver lining here. Contact, disclosure, whatever you want to call it, it's a wake-up call. Time to start thinking critically, to be smarter about the information we consume.
Because the truth, yeah, it might be scary, might be unsettling, but it's always better than comforting lies, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
And in that search for truth, we rediscover something vital. Trust. Trust in our institutions and each other, but most importantly, trust in our own ability to make sense of this wild, ever-changing world.
So really, when we talk about contact, about encountering an alien civilization, we're going beyond spaceships and tech right now.
Way beyond. This is about a fundamental shift in how we see ourselves, our place in the universe, our values, our priorities, and a commitment to transparency, to accountability, to thinking for ourselves.
And I think that brings us full circle to what CIDR is trying to do. This isn't just about building an app. It's about advocating for a new way of doing science.
Open collaboration, rigorous data, a genuine shared pursuit of knowledge.
It's like they're saying, hey, if we're ever going to find out the truth, whether it's about the universe or the challenges we face here and now, we've got to be willing to embrace the unknown.
Challenge our assumptions.
Exactly.
And, the biggest lesson we might learn from encountering an alien civilization? It might not be about their technology, their knowledge. It might be about us, about humanity.
Yeah.
They become a reflection, showing us our capacity for wonder, for ingenuity, for building a better future, for ourselves, for the generations to come.
Wow, that's a lot to chew on. Listeners, I don't know about you, but I'm looking up at the sky a little differently right now. And speaking of looking up, if you're feeling that spark of curiosity, do yourself a favor, check out the CITER app. Dive into their research, log your own sightings, be a part of this global effort to answer the biggest question of all, are we alone?
The answer could change everything.
Couldn't agree more. Because who knows, figuring that out might be the key to not just reaching for the stars, but to fixing things right here at home.